Paltrocast. How are you? Good afternoon.
I'm good. I'm good. How are you doing?
Great. Thank you very much. And so much to ask you because not only is there this film, there's your Pilates business. I see a drum set next to you, etc.
Yeah.
So where are you dialing in from today?
Oh my goodness. No, this is actually my fiance's studio. So he's a drummer and music director. So that's his this
Oh,
is his like little studio.
any credits or artists that he plays with that I would know?
Yes. Do you know who Lauv is?
Yes.
Lauv, he plays for him and he's his music director. He has been for like 8, 9 years now. And yeah, people like Joshua Bassett. I don't know, he's a Disney kid. A bunch of people. But yeah,
The cool
he does.
term
That's
is
why there's a drums kit.
he MDs. He doesn't music
Yes.
direct,
No,
MDs.
he
Okay.
MD. You're right, you know.
Yeah. Well, anyway, congratulations on the Red Shoes Next Step. When did you actually film? Because in your case, I know you also produced it.
Yes, I helped produce it. We filmed in 2021. So
Mhm.
it was still kind of like COVID times. And like pre and like end of 2020, but mostly it was all 2021.
Got it. So, did you know outright, hey, I want to work on the production and star in it, or did the production happen and then you went, okay, might as well act two?
It was I acting is going to be like my number one forever.
Mhm.
But I thought I spoke to my mom about it. She's the EP Tanya. We spoke about it and I was like, let's just like try it for this one and see how it goes and if I want to continue helping out in the production back end section rather than just on camera.
Hmm. Is IMDb correct that your first role was in The Conjuring 2?
Yes, my first film was The Conjuring 2.
Not a bad first credit to have. So,
No.
I'm surprised that didn't pigeonhole you to the horror genre.
Honestly, I filmed another horror movie last year in Australia, and that is the only other horror I've done, which is crazy. But I have gotten a lot of auditions for horror movies since then.
And this film obviously focuses on ballet and dance and all that. Is that part of your background as well?
So I grew up dancing a little bit. I was never any good. So I think my parents gave up on me. With that, don't blame them. I was more of an actor and a singer, but I mean I loved dancing. I know so many obviously a lot of ballerinas, ballet dancers now, and it is so impressive. So impressive seeing there's so much hard work goes into it and
Yeah.
dedication, and it's amazing.
It's almost like a military oriented thing where it teaches you so much discipline that it's
Oh, so
immediate
much
culture
discipline.
shock. And then you spend the rest of your life living by those ideals, no matter how torturous it was. And
Oh yeah. Yeah, it's ingrained in you.
yeah, so is that a tougher role for you to have been part of? Because you have to, and this is a compliment that's coming, Lauren. This is a compliment. When you're the producer, you're thinking of more the bottom line, what's the distribution going to be like, et cetera. And when you're acting in front of the camera, you're thinking of the moment. So, in other words, you have to simultaneously think about the moment and the big picture. So,
Yeah.
is this a tough particular production for you?
I think you're right. I have to think about it both ways. And I think I've always had a knack for that, even when I'm not producing something or helping produce something. I always want to know how it's going to look at the end, because that's what matters, right? It's what the viewers are going to be seeing at the end. So when I'm acting, even if it's like not even a family production, I still want to make sure that like every shot looks good, every angle, like because I know that it doesn't matter what I think, it matters what like the viewers are gonna think and see. So I think I've always had a knack for that, even regardless if I'm helping produce or not.
So, giving strike restrictions and all that, I'll ask this very unoffensively, non-offensively, inoffensively, whatever the offensive correct verbiage is right there.
Mhm.
This is a few projects ago, correct? That the best is
Yeah.
yet to come, that there's more to look forward to.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah.
And in those particular things, you're also producing and acting, or was this
Just
the last?
acting. Just acting. I think I'm gonna stick in the future to just acting. Producing is hard. Producing is hard work. And I feel like I'm a lot more creative on camera than I am behind the scenes.
And credit
It's
goes
very
to you.
stressful.
I can imagine. Credit goes to you for that, and credit also goes to you for being able to do Australian movies and American projects, because oftentimes it's one or the other.
Yeah.
Obviously, the travel distance and all that. When did you kind of realize that you could do both?
Well, it helps when my mum decided that she wanted to become a producer. That also helps. I get to go home and work as well, which is awesome, and hang out with my mum.
Mhm.
But yeah, I love being home, but I don't like being home for too long because I do get bored because my life is here. So then when I'm working back home, it kind of helps. And it makes me fall in love with Australia even more. And I do miss home a lot, but when there's no work there, I don't have not really much to do.
Yeah. I'll go back to what I was saying. An Australian actor that I recently interviewed, Louis Mandylor. Do you know who he is by any chance?
Oh,
I asked him about his film work in Australia, and he goes, "I've never made one movie in Australia." So that's a
really?
common kind of thing that I've seen with other talent, that they move to LA and they kind of never looked back.
Never come back. Yeah.
So
I
in your
understand
case,
that.
going back and forth is unique in terms of people knowing that you're available,
Mhm.
and also that there it must be different representation that you'd have for that territory than this territory, like a different set of agents.
Yeah, I have my Australian manager, Charmaine. I've been with her since I was like 15 years old, long, long time. And then I have my US managers and agents here. So they all work together. So
Good
like,
for the visa paperwork.
pardon?
Good for the visa paperwork as
Oh,
well.
I'm on a green card now, so she doesn't need to
Yes.
deal with the visas anymore.
Yeah, that's a painful thing that a lot of people have to deal with, when you have to justify in government documentation that I'm good. No, seriously, here are my credits. I'm good. And
Awful.
then,
It
but
I Yeah.
back to you, as I mentioned at the top of the conversation, the Pilates world, you're a business owner, kind of an influencer on that end as well. Where did the love of that come versus the love of acting?
So it came about, I when I moved here to Los Angeles when I was 19,
Mhm.
very, very young. I didn't have any family here. I had a couple friends, but like not like that many people. Um, I just got into the whole diet culture, on over exercising, under eating, all that real not great stuff.
Yeah,
And so then I decided I wanted to start strength training. So I started, I wanted to gain a little bit of muscle, and then I started doing that. And then I was like, after like a couple of years, I was like, you know what? I want other girls to feel strong, and I want them to eat well and nourish themselves and not try and make them smaller, especially girls that are in film, that are models, like all the entertainment girls, like it's very common. So that's how it started. And it's just grown into like basically my full-time business is just training other females and women. I work with pregnant women, postnatal women. Yeah, and it's just like blossomed from that unintentionally. But it's great because
and
I get to still
yeah,
act and do that, because it's another, obviously acting is another thing that I'm so passionate about. I get to do that as well as run my business and do my other passion and train other women and make them feel strong and empowered. So it's a good little balance that I have for myself, I think.
I'd have to imagine a lot of people in the Pilates world have no concept of who's a prominent actor or actress. They're not following film and TV because they're very positivity and inner oriented. So do
Mhm.
you find that a lot of people just don't know who you are, and they go, "What? You also do that?"
Um, it's hard because some people already know me from being an actor, and it was hard to like kind of transition. But there are some people, like I've had a few clients that, especially with Halloween, like just passing, like The Conjuring is so everyone like talks about it because it's a big horror movie. But I have some clients that are like, "You're what? Like you're in that movie? Like it's like crazy." I'm like, "Yeah."
Got it. So the last two questions before I let you go, and we'll do a substitute question if this one doesn't work. Are we allowed to know which film is next or which project is next, or that's embargoed info?
Yeah, I think so. I think so, yeah. The next one, I filmed it this year at the beginning of the year. Another one with my mum in Australia. We did that with this one in Victoria. Again, my second horror movie. So it's called First Moon. So that's in post now. It's really cool, really, really cool werewolf movie. My first time ever using prosthetics. So that's like a little spoiler. I don't know if I can say much else, but
That's plenty to grasp onto.
yeah.
Knowing that's a Halloween film, I think you're 1 or 2 Halloween credits away from from October, early November being your peak season every year.
Yeah, right.
That
Makes
happens
sense.
for a lot of performers.
Of
And
course.
the last question is, when you're not busy with the acting, you're not busy with the Pilates world, where does your free time go? Are you one of the people that's always taking classes, or do you know how to do off time?
I'm always working, I have to say. When I'm not acting, I'm always working with my clients and all of that. However, like if I do have some spare time, I mean, I read a lot. I love reading. I love hiking, obviously doing Pilates myself and taking classes. I love that. But that's like walking my dog, hanging out with my dog. Traveling, I love that. That's usually what I do in my spare time when I'm not working, which is quite rare, but
Sometimes when you ask that to an actor, they go, "And my new album is coming out blank," and you
oh my
find it.
goodness, no, not me.
So no
Definitely
vanity
not.
solo project coming anytime soon from Lauren Esposito.
No.
Paltrocast.
First headlining tour, so congratulations. It's going great as I expect it is.
Yeah, man, it's going awesome. It's going awesome. It's been a treat because, like I said, like uh, the first bit of it was like, I don't know how, because it's my first one. I don't know how it was gonna go, but like so far the shows have been awesome. It's been really fun.
Yeah, the reality is when it's a headlining tour, they're coming to see you.
Yeah,
Did you have some hesitation to booking a headlining tour?
I mean, there wasn't much hesitation. It was definitely like a necessary next step in like a business sense, but also like I've been dreaming of doing a headlining tour since I was a kid. So I was like, let's go. I'm ready.
Right.
You know?
And now you're playing longer than 45 minutes. So what
Yes.
does the set look like these days, knowing that, hey, you have to deliver at least an hour?
Yeah. So we've been doing it. It's been either an hour 15 or an hour and a half. And, um, before I started touring full time, I would play a lot of local gigs and I could fill up to like 3 hours at one point. I mean, doing
Right.
covers and stuff too, but um, the energy is different than playing at a bar gig. So like screaming out of my face for an hour and a half is definitely something I'm getting more used to. But that was the biggest learning curve, trying to keep the stamina for that long.
I see that you kicked the tour off in Atlanta. What was the decision behind that? Were you picking up the van or the bus or anything like that in Atlanta?
So it was a good starting point for the tour. More so like just booking the spots in general and heading. So I'm from the north and we're heading back up north. And
Right.
I do have a lot of people all over the place. My bass player lives in Charleston. My tour managers in Florida, our sound guys in California. So it was a good meeting spot in Atlanta to just kick things off. And we had some buddies we were able to rehearse with the day before the first show. And it was just a good hub to get everyone in the same spot.
The way that I read the routing, it sounds like everybody goes home for Thanksgiving. They go home for a couple days and then it starts again.
Yes, sir. Yeah. The logistics have been crazy, but we've been doing it.
Got it. So is there a similar support band on all the gigs, the same support band, or is it just different venue to venue?
Yeah, so we're bringing out my buddy Joey Harcum. He's out of Baltimore, Maryland. He used to be in a band called Pasadena that I listened to, and Joey's phenomenal, huge, amazing energy. He's got his other bass player, Joe, who's also named Joe, on the
Mhm.
tour too, and they've just been killing it. He's off for a couple days, but then he joins back us up with us in Pembroke, Mass, for the sound check show.
When
So
you
I'm
have multiple
stoked.
Joes on tour like that, how does that work? Do you take numbers or does it go by last name?
It's weird ordering sandwiches all in the same place.
So do they just go Samba for you?
Yeah, Joe Samba, and then I just called Joey just Harkham. Hey, Harkham. You know.
The last name approach. And so what's
Yes.
going on the recording end at the moment? Because I know you're supporting new music, but sometimes artists go, I don't want to just sit around a dressing room. I'm going to make music on my laptop on tour.
Yeah, so I don't have that luxury this time around, but you know, on my off time when I'm home, I'm doing most of my writing. And like if I think of something while I'm like out and about, I have the voice memo on my phone and I can just like sing the melody into my phone, and then when I'm home, try to work something out on my computer at home.
Hmm. With you and your musical evolution, I found that it's changed over time in a great way to what I like to listen to personally. I
Hmm.
hear a lot of Sublime, Pepper, a lot of ska reggae, but where did you start off with musically? Were you originally a rock guy that got into punk and ska?
Oh yeah. So well, you know, I come from a very musical family, and growing up, I was into like anything under the sun. I was a huge Hanson fan when I was a kid, but then my brothers, they listened to like Metallica and Pantera and System of a Down. So I really got into the metal world, and
Mhm.
I was in a metal band called Spies Like Us. That was my first band.
Oh,
Um, we did some light touring. You know, I was really young, so there was a lot of you know, just learning, a lot of learning curves from the touring world. And um, you know, I still listen to metal. One of my favorite bands in the world is Between the Buried and Me.
mhm.
And you know, it wasn't until I started working at a record store in my town in Salem, New Hampshire, um, and I just started getting into everything. I liked like a couple songs from Sublime, like the typical like Santeria and What I Got, I heard, but then I got their record and I just like dove deep, and I got obsessed with Sublime specifically, and that's what kind of lit the fire in that department.
You mentioned New Hampshire, which your bio does mention you being from. Growing up on Long Island, you know everybody's from Long Island. From New Hampshire, all I really have is Adam Sandler, Sarah Silverman, you. Are there a lot of people from New Hampshire that are notable that we don't really realize?
I heard that dude Seth Meyers is
Oh,
from New Hampshire. Um, you know, there was you know, I guess less I grew up like right on the border in Massachusetts. So like Sully Erna from Godsmack is from the area. You'd see him farting around town. And I think Triple H, the wrestler, has a house up by the lake in Lakewood and Bisaki area. I don't know if he's from there, but you know,
I
there's
think
some
he's a
random sites.
Connecticut guy, but I remember reading that John Fogerty did a corporate gig for Triple H's birthday party. So John Fogerty might have played in your town or around there.
No way. That's sick.
So hey, back to you here. You got this tour. Some people, when they're on tour, they really can't think about anything else. And then other people go, oh, dude, I know the next 2 years of my career. In
Yeah.
your case, do you know what 2024 already looks like?
I definitely see a lot more touring. A lot more music is going to be released. I just started the process of my new record. And again, I'm going to be traveling a whole lot. I do have a new family. I have a 2-year-old son at home, and I plan on getting married in 2024 to my fiance Olivia. So from the home front to my career, it's 2024 is going to get crazy, and I'm looking forward to it.
But at least you have the Thanksgiving off between
We
this.
got Thanksgiving off. We got Christmas off.
And then in your case, a lot of people in the genre that I guess we can call, well, what genre do we call you, by the way? Do we just say reggae? Because you do chart on the reggae charts, but
Yeah.
I don't say Buju Banton and Joe Samba same thing. I mean, it's very different.
Yeah, you know, it's actually a thing that I question even myself. Like, what genre am I? Because you know, I obviously have the influence of reggae, but there's a lot of other influences as well. And you know, I just simply call it like some people call it American reggae, or reggae rock. I tend to call it reggae rock, but the newer music that I'll be putting out next year definitely is less reggae, you could say. It's definitely got its influences, but I don't know. I don't even know what to call it anymore. It's just tunes.
If you get bored in the van, I guess everyone can just say, "What are we?" and you can figure that out for a couple of hours.
Yeah.
But where I was going with that is a lot of people in the reggae rock genre collaborate all the time. So even if they only put out an album every 2 years, you'll see they're on that person's album and that person's single, etc. Like the
Yeah.
slightly stupid guys can't stop recording with other people. In your case, might we be seeing you collaborating with other people?
Yeah, I mean that's a huge plan. We have some stuff in the works. I would love to have a dude like Kyle from Slightly Stupid on one of my new tunes. That's something, once more of the songs are kind of in a better spot as far as like where they are as far as finished or whatever. Um, there are some names floating around that I'll be collaborating with or trying to manifest some collaborations with, and that's kind of having a name like a Slightly Stupid or insert whoever. I got to do a collab with Elliot Martin from I'm sorry, John Brown's Body,
Mhm.
one of my favorite reggae bands of all time, and that was like the first real awesome collab that I got to do. And I've done a song with Jackson from the Elevators. We just put out a new music video for that, and I'm hoping to do a lot more collabs. It makes it more fun having another brain involved.
Got it. Well, two quick questions for you, one stupider than the other. And the first one is when you talk about Christmas music or holiday music, it usually comes out for 2 months of the year, and there's that. But in your case, you play happy music 12 months a year. How do you manage to stay jovial and happy when, hey, the world is not always the happiest place on earth, and you know that the people are coming to you for the happy stuff?
Yeah, so I feel like it's all energy based because I also, as much happy music I have, like beef and dancing and not really caring what people think, that kind of
Yeah.
energy. I do have a few songs that like explore I like a lot of more sad thoughts, but it's about like kind of taking those things and being relatable to people and writing things in a way, not purposely, but um, things that people can relate to and understand on like a cellular level. So even when it's like not necessarily the happiest song, people can still smile and relate to it and be like, wow, like I know what he's talking about. So I mean, I wouldn't say that's what I try to do. I kind of just whatever comes out naturally is just how I've always kind of done it. But if it's resonating, whether it's happy or sad or you know emotional in any way, I feel like I'm kind of doing my job. You know.
There was a hard rock band that I really liked, and the album was called Dress to Depress. And it's kind of like you have to do the exact opposite, where they go, "Okay, we have to have a good time because Joe's here." So I guess
Yeah,
to you for being a good times artist, you know.
I love that.
Well, the last thing is, what's the last concert that you went to as a fan, where you went, "Hey, I'm not working. I'm not going to pop up on stage. This isn't a political thing. I got to be here because I'm a fan."
Yeah, so recently I was home for a couple months and my fiance's brother Evan got us tickets to this venue. It's actually one of my favorite local venues in New Hampshire called the Stone Church. And
Mhm.
it's a smaller club, it's like a 200 cap room, but P Lander Z was going through. Uh and it was the most entertaining show I've seen in in a long time. And it was a riot. I got to, be a part of the crowd. They threw like dog bowls into the crowd and you could smack the dog bowls when they sing Mad Tiger, and it was a riot. It was so much fun. That's the last like really memorable show as like just watching that it comes to mind.
Elander Z. Wow. Still,
Yeah.
I I have not seen them live in 20 years, and it's good to know that they're still awesome. But Joe, thank you for putting out great music into the world. Looking forward to your next New York show. I have to miss the SOB one, but we'll get the next one. In the meantime, just keep up all the
Absolutely.
greatness out there.
Thank you, Darren. I appreciate the time, brother.
Paltrocast.
Pleasure to be speaking with you. And the audiobook, people who follow you know that it was kind of announced in late 2021. It didn't really come out until a couple of months ago, if I read correctly. So was this the kind of thing where you were perfecting it and that's why we had to wait so long?
No. It took about 3 weeks to record the audiobook. We actually did it in our little studio here on the island where I live near Seattle.
Mhm.
And I decided that I wasn't a good enough voice actress to do all the characters. So I brought in 10 of my favorite actors who live close to me, some of whom are my students, some of whom are working actors, one of whom is, a hairdresser, a lawyer. I mean, it was just, a community endeavor, and we recorded it here, and then we sent all the recordings to the distributor in LA who put together the book. And that took more time than we anticipated. So that's why actually the book was just released on Audible 2 weeks ago.
Got it. And it's 10 to 11 hours in terms of the audiobook. Did you have to cut a lot out of the book itself to make the audiobook, I don't know, feasible and also concise?
I really didn't. I did a lot less editing than I thought I was going to do. But it was really interesting to read it out loud because I do play the title character when I read it, and I also read the narration. And I just saw all these things I wished I could go back and rewrite reading it out loud. I was like, oh no, I would have said it this way, but I didn't change much.
Well, the publishing of this audiobook makes you even harder to describe because do we go, hey, Tony Award winner? Do we go prolific actress and director and producer? Do we now go author? What do we call you at this point, Dinah?
Usually just mom.
Mom it is. And I'm not going to call you mom. Anyone else who wants to can. But this long, wonderful path that you've had has taken a lot of turns in a good way. How much of where you're at now was what you were planning decades ago?
Wow, that's such a good question.
Every now and then I get one of those. Not very often. I'll try not to.
I would say that there was no way I envisioned the happy and contented life I have now when I was younger. No way. And I feel so fortunate to have wound up just right where I am in this moment. I really do. If I could have planned my life out, it would have been a disappointment. So fortunately, my plans, many of them which did not come to fruition, were a saving grace for me.
Paltrocast.